Hi there, Scorpio. Star-Lord is here. I'm going to be doing a video on sun sign compatibilities, and I'm doing sort of like a thumbs up, thumbs down, neutral system with it, and this is my opinion based on sun sign only, and how we would get along with other signs, starting with Aries all the way down to Pisces, and this is based on romantic relationships. So I'm going to start off with Aries and Scorpio. This combination I gave a thumbs down to, primarily because this combination, in my opinion, is potentially explosive. Both of these signs are very headstrong and can have really bad tempers. Both the signs are ruled by Mars, and should a conflict arise, it could end up being a pretty heated battle. Longevity, I have seen this combination before, but for longevity, it usually doesn't work well. These two can be, they respect one another and can be friends. However, in terms of a relationship, they approach life from a completely different aspect. And moving on to Scorpio and Taurus, I gave a thumbs down to, primarily because, like I told all the other signs, when it comes to our polar opposites on the astrological wheel, these relationships, in my opinion, tend to not be very long lasting. They are intense, and these two signs will tend to be drawn to one another, maybe intensely so, because there's that mirror effect that happens where we see a lot of similarities in our opposite sign, because the base of the two signs are similar. However, the polarities that drive them apart can cause huge conflict in the relationship. And when it comes to Scorpio and Taurus, both signs are extremely stubborn, and although, like I tell all the other signs, this combination works really well in a friendship. You often find best friends for life as opposite signs. When it comes to a romantic relationship, not so much. They just tend to, both Scorpio and Taurus want to have things their own way, and they're very set in their ways, and it can cause a big conflict. And usually when opposite signs have conflict in a romantic relationship, it tends to be pretty intense. This can end up being in a very intense and very hurtful breakup. They tend to want to go back to one another, but when they do, it just ends up back in that same place again. So that's why I gave that a thumbs down. Now moving on to the Scorpio-Gemini combination, I gave that a thumbs up. This combination can work and work very well. However, there are some polarities in this combination because of the fact that the Gemini comes from the intellectual side, which Scorpio does appreciate. Scorpio does tend to be a highly intelligent sign as well, so it does appreciate Gemini's quick wit and quick mind, and these two can talk for hours and hours and hours, and can joke around and have a really good relationship. The Gemini brings a certain lightness to Scorpio's heaviness, and Scorpio brings a certain grounding to Gemini. And this combination can work very well in a romantic setting. Just have to be careful with Gemini's wanting to be flirtatious in the social scene, and they just have to be careful that they don't set off Scorpio's jealous side, because Scorpios can be jealous when it comes to their partners. Now, moving on to the Scorpio-Cancer combination, I gave that a thumbs up. These two water signs tend to really, their energies blend very well together. They get along on, not only on they approach life from the same way, well, similar, not exactly, but they approach life in a similar way, and they view everything from their emotions first. And on an emotional level, they can blend, their energies can blend beautifully. And on a spiritual level as well, they can like read each other's minds when they're hooked up together, and when they're super close, when they like settle down together, I can see this relationship being like a potentially long-term one. So that I gave a thumbs up. Next is Scorpio Leo combination. I gave that a thumbs down. In a romantic relationship, although these two tend to be extremely drawn to one another, both intense signs, very intense signs, and they tend to get along very well as friends. In terms of a romantic relationship, it seems to be, from what I know of astrology and what I've seen personally with this combination, is that it goes intensely high and then will fizzle out at some point, because the stubbornness of both the Leo and the Scorpio can ruin the relationship. So it's just thumbs down for a long-term relationship. Next, we move on to Scorpio and Virgo. Virgo and Scorpio, thumbs up for this relationship, for longevity. These two signs have a deep respect for one another's intellect, and just the way that they view life is very similar. The Virgo tends to be pretty tough, and the Scorpio can be a bit of a stinger when they're in a mood, and the Virgo's tough enough to be able to withstand that and give it back if they have to. And I think they have a huge respect for one another. They get along very well as friends and in a coupled relationship. Moving on to the next one is Scorpio and Libra. I gave a thumbs up to. These two energies do work well together. They just have to be careful that they don't get too serious-minded. The Scorpio can get very down and serious and bring the Libra down. So you got to watch those energies. But other than that, the Libra's flighty sort of flirtiness can get on Scorpio's nerves, so you got to watch that a little bit. However, overall, these two tend to really respect one another and are extremely loyal to the relationship and to the partnership. And I've seen this combination work long term several times, so that seems to be a good long-term combination. Scorpio with Scorpio is neutral to thumbs down, because of the fact that Scorpio dealing with another Scorpio can be very, very tricky. These two obviously would have a very strong spiritual connection and a very strong emotional connection. However, Scorpios can be very when they get upset, can be fly off the handle, and if you're dealing with another one like yourself, that can be extremely tricky. So it can work. I have seen this combination actually work long term, but again, it depends largely on the people involved. Moving on to Scorpio Sagittarius, I would give that combination thumbs down. Scorpio and Sagittarius, although again can be great friends in terms of longevity in a relationship, the Sagittarius and Scorpio approach life from such different angles that I think they would have trouble really understanding one another long term. Although lightheartedly, yes, they can get along, but in terms of Scorpio is just very single-minded, is ambitious, and likes to know what they're doing next, whereas the Sagittarian energy is completely opposite, in the sense that Sagittarians don't like to know exactly where they're going tonight. They just like to fly by the seat of their pants, and they're good. They excel with that energy, whereas the Scorpio is not generally okay with that. But again, it depends on the personalities involved. Scorpio with Capricorn, this combination, thumbs up. for longevity. The Scorpio and the Capricorn get along well as people in general, because they can approach life from the same way. Scorpio is very serious. Capricorn is also very serious and very ambitious, and the Scorpio is okay with the Capricorn's ambition and understands that and respects that. And the Capricorn enjoys the caring and nurturing that comes from Scorpio. Now, Scorpio and Aquarius, that energy is in a combination, is neutral. It's one another. They would definitely have a lot to talk about. They could, this is another couple that could talk for hours and hours and hours. Both love the intellectual. They love to look at the world from an intellectual point of view and have strong opinions. But when it comes to, they're both fixed signs. When it comes to stubbornness, and Aquarians can be a little set in their ways, and so can Scorpio, so that can cause a problem. So in terms of longevity, I haven't really seen this combination too much for long term. Scorpio and Pisces now, that combination, thumbs up. Two water signs together, they understand each other on an emotional level and on a spiritual level. They are very much in tune and connected. This combination does definitely work long term. Again, it depends on the couple, though. The Pisces really enjoys the emotional stability of the Scorpio, and the Scorpio adores the Pisces' whimsical way of looking at life and loves their emotional response to things. So that's what I have for Scorpio. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would really love to hear in the comments below your experiences with the different signs. Yeah. If you did enjoy this video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, Scorps, take care. Bye for now.